Greetings and welcome. Day 2, Little League World Series, the Great Lakes region in Westfield, Indiana, just a stone's throw out of Indianapolis, the state capital of Indiana. And today, Michigan will take a crack at that hot-hitting Hamilton, Ohio team, which won yesterday, going away over Wisconsin, 22-4. As a result, it's Ohio and Kentucky at the top of the leaderboard. 2 wins yesterday couldn't have been more contrasted, as Kentucky wins a thriller over Indiana by a score of 1-0. Good morning, Jim Barber. John Gregory spent some time with the Dodgers organization in the minor leagues a few years back, and today you get a chance to see a terrific hitting team in Ohio. So if you're Michigan and Joey Randazzo, how do you challenge Ohio?
Well, you have to do it with good pitching. Jason Hill, the head coach for Michigan, told us the longer this team goes into this tournament, or the longer they went through the state tournament, the better this team got. So I think today they're comfortable with Joey out on the mound. They're going to see if they can stop this hot-hitting Ohio team.
That was a home run hitting barrage yesterday for Ohio. They hit 3, they scored 22, and in fact a grand slam by Braden Moore capped it all. So Michigan has got a difficult assignment today, facing a team that put 17 men and women to the plate in the 4th inning yesterday. Braden Moore wound up with a grand slam to straightaway center field before everything ended. And that inning alone, the 4th inning, played at 13 runs and led to the blowout of Wisconsin, 22-4. We anticipate Randazzo will challenge the Ohio hitters today. Well, John, the winner of this game gets a chance to move on to Wednesday's competition and a step closer to the finals and Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Ohio manager says the thing he likes the most about the talented Braden Moore, a very humble kid, quiet as well, but a lively fastball at 5'4", 111 pounds, and a pretty good cutter, and also a slider, John, as well.
And he's the exact guy they want on the mound for this situation. Really, no moment's been too big for this kid. We saw the grand slam yesterday. And on the mound, he has a lot of confidence, and the defense behind him has a lot of confidence with him on the mound, and that helps them play a little bit better.
Yes, to follow your point, they actually have him as the #1 pitcher on this team, and they gambled a bit yesterday, hoping for a win over Wisconsin, which happened, and rather easily, so that now in position to win in the winner's bracket today with their #1 pitcher and get to Wednesday's activity. Drew Hill will lead off for Michigan. Matthew Green bats second. The pitcher, Joey Randazzo, is third. Joseph Wisniewski hits cleanup. Jack Jones in the 5-hole. Jordan Arsenault is 6th. Adam Arold 7th. Ryan Jones 8th. And Tommy Scheck, the right fielder, bats 9th. Had so much fun yesterday doing 4 games. How about 4 more today?
Let's do it.
Hill, left-handed swinger. Good table setter. And he will go up against Moore as we start today's activity. Prince Lowe is our home plate umpire. Hans Lodge is at first. Jake Ballard at second. Nick Boylan will umpire at third. Out in front of the plate. Who's going to handle it? The pitcher will try. And a good defensive play by Moore. 1 out.
Well, that's part of the athletic ability that makes Braden Moore so special, whether he's at shortstop or playing middle infield somewhere or on that mound. His ability to come off of there and make that play, you could see it there, and get the first out to start the game.
#2 hitter in the lineup, Matthew Green, who's moved all the way from the 9 spot to the 2 position because, frankly, in the words of his manager, Jason Hill, he's been tearing the cover off the ball. Played on the international team, well thought of player. Behind 2 strikes.
Sometimes you get a little bit better, as the coach said. Jason Hill said this team, the longer they go, the more comfortable they get. And that's the same thing with the approach for Matthew Green at the plate. He's getting more and more comfortable up there, and the experience, as you said, playing on that international team last year goes a long way to helping him being comfortable in this situation.
Well, you were through the Dodgers organization. We talk confidence ad nauseum, but it is significant, particularly at a very young age.
Now, the fact you look around on this field today, Braden Moore, the pitcher on the mound, he is the only guy on this Ohio team that was here last year. And this team has been here an awful lot. So every year they just reload with younger players. They bring them back up. They've got some younger 11-year-olds that get some experience. And then each year they sprinkle some veterans in there.
You know, I think reload's the right word for Hamilton. 2 outs on the strikeout against Matthew Green, and that'll bring up Joey Randazzo. And another look at Moore's KO pitch.
How about that location? Deathridge behind home plate. The catcher just sets up on the outside corner, and Moore just peppers the outside.
Randazzo considered to be one of the most talented players on this team. And we'll get a chance to see him on the mound in the bottom of the first. Favorite school subject is science. Stands it at 5'4" and 130. It's required all little leaguers in the box today must keep a foot in that box. We did happen to see a couple yesterday in a tense situation.
Yeah.
Move out a little bit, but depends on how the umpire decides to yield the rule or wield the rule, if you will.
And these coaches know about it. I was walking around the fields before this game today, and this Michigan team was taking batting practice over in the cages, and I could hear the coach preaching, remember, keep a foot in the box today, keep a foot in the box. So they were constantly being reminded about the rule.
Joseph Wisniewski, the second baseman, hits cleanup. He'll hit next. Randazzo with good power to all parts of the field. 2-strike pitch. Inning over. A good one for pitcher Braden Moore. He strikes out 2, and after a half inning, Michigan nothing. Ohio coming up. Joey Randazzo will take to the mound for Michigan. We're live today at Grand Park Sports Campus, opened in June, roughly 3 years ago, 20 miles north of Indianapolis, with a number of beautiful soccer, multi-purpose baseball and softball diamonds and fields. And if you want to go indoors, check out basketball and volleyball. So in the scouting report yesterday, as Michigan got a chance to look at Ohio, the general feeling was that sometimes against fastball hitting, they take swings they shouldn't. So will Randazzo then go after him with that in mind?
Well, that's the idea that they're going to approach it with today. Joey Randazzo has a good fastball, and they think they can get him to chase, but this is a very aggressive Ohio offense. Maybe that's why they chase a lot of pitchers, because they're so aggressive at the plate going after the first pitch. So this is going to be a great matchup. We're going to see this all day in Braden Moore and then Joey Randazzo on the mound.
And after Moore, it's Kate Polito hitting second, Blake Deathridge third. Lake Cundiff is the cleanup hitter. Davis Avery, who was huge yesterday with a home run and a double in 1 inning, bats fifth. Then Ethan Mueller, Casey Parsons, Nick Brocious, and Clint Moak. So it's pitcher against pitcher, which is how the top of the first ended. Great Lakes region action to be followed by Illinois and Kentucky at 1 o'clock this afternoon, 12 Central. And this one, a hit on the part of the infield. No problem for Joseph Wisniewski, 1 out. It's a big out for Michigan.
Really good start, because we said how aggressive this Ohio offense is. And the thing about this offense, and I've noticed it over the last few years, and we can say this because the same coaches have been back here year after year, they'll take a different approach based off of what pitcher's on the mound. If they want to make this guy work, just like Braden Moore did, he took that first pitch, try to get the pitch count up. In some cases, they feel like they can score a bunch of runs, and they don't hesitate to swing at it. In other cases, they think it's going to be a low-scoring game. They're going to make the guy on the mound throw a little bit more.
Kate Polito at the plate, batting in the second position, 3 for 4 yesterday. A couple of runs scored and a couple of runs batted in.
How impressive was she yesterday on the base pass, the speed that she brings to this game.
Head on the count, 3-0.
And how she got on, a couple doubles, both opposite field. Double, and then she pulled one over the shortstop, so she can hit all over the place, and she's a line drive, fast hands through the zone.
Yes, they'll challenge your defense on the bases, certainly. Ken Coomer, the manager, is coaching at third base. We check that at first base, and Tim Nichting, one of the coaches and a former manager, coaches at third. Toward right field and dropping. Base hit. Fourth hit for Polito in 2 days. One on for Blake Deathridge, the catcher.
That wasn't a line drive like we saw yesterday, but it was enough. She got enough of that ball to hit the lazy fly ball to right field and fell into no man's land, and she stands at first base.
Deathridge 2 for 4 yesterday with a run scored and a run batted in. And a chance for Polito down to second base, and she's in there. Well, if you remember yesterday, Wisconsin had a load of problems with wild pitches and pass balls, and Ohio took big advantage of that. And they're off to the races already, John.
Yeah, I was talking with Tim Nichting before the ball game about their approach. They're on the base pass. They're watching the release. They're ready for the ball to go in the dirt, so they're going to take that extra base anytime they feel like that ball's down.
Hamilton already with a player in scoring position with one out in the bottom half of the first. No score in our game. The winner moves on to Wednesday action, continuing the winner's bracket and a lot closer to the championship game and a spot in Williamsport. And the loser is going to have to play through the loser's bracket and likely play every day. Count a ball and 2 strikes. Off the change, bounce towards second, and both second and first unable to do anything about it. Polito is going to head home. In the meantime, they've got Deathridge hung up, and he'll be tagged out. But Hamilton, Ohio goes ahead 1-0.
So many times we talk about just getting the ball in play and putting some pressure on defense and make things happen. This time Deathridge hits just a easy ground ball to first base, and Adam decides to come off the first base bag. He fields it cleanly, but nobody's there to be able to make the play. And the speed of Polito, she comes around to score pretty easily.
So Deathridge, who reached on an error in the fielder's choice, tagged out trying to stretch to second base, but Polito does score, and it's 1-0. Time being called as Lake Cundiff, the left fielder, settles in. 0 for 4 yesterday. Well, that's all you need if you're facing this explosive Ohio team, is give them a gift run. Headed toward third base. Good play by Arsenault, inning over. A run. They'll actually score. Deathridge's ground ball a hit. 2 hits. Nobody left. 1-0 Ohio over Michigan after 1. Little League University provides free educational information online for coaches, umpires, league volunteers, and parents. Watch videos, review practice plans, or get some ideas for playing catch in the backyard. Visit littleleagueuniversity.org today. So run on 2 hits for Ohio in its first inning, and it's 1-0 Hamilton as we go to the second. Here's Joseph Wisniewski, who goes around for strike 1 to start the Michigan second. To be followed by Jack Jones and Jordan Arsenault. Jason Hill, the manager, is the third base coach, and at first is Mark Arsenault. Andy Arolth is the bench coach. Braden Moore in the Michigan first, struck out 2. And mentioned fastball, cutter, slider, and that ball has some movement. He is the team's #1 pitcher.
And I'd venture to say probably the best athlete on this team. And that's a dangerous combination when you have that experience of being here last year. You come back and you're one of the top athletes. It's you tough to stop, but I think he's facing a pretty good athlete at the plate right now. This guy looks pretty good to me. Second baseman, good middle infielder, hits from the left side, good sweet swinging left-handed with some power.
Gets the count full, goes the other way. Mueller going to try to come up with it, can't. And so Wisniewski becomes the first Michigan base runner here in the second.
I don't think you're going to overpower Wisniewski at the plate. Hits this to the left side there to the third baseman. Hit it pretty hard and good speed down the first base line. He looks like he has a lot of tools to be a good player into the future.
John, here's the 5-hitter Jack Jones, base hit left field. Michigan's got some punch up there as well. Back-to-back hits. Runners at first and second and nobody out. That's hitting them where they ain't right here.
That's right. He was able to turn on this one. Jones was to be able to get it through shortstop, third base. So they've gone the opposite way, and that's what this Michigan coaches were talking to us about. Jason Hill said, we're teaching these guys to hit it to all fields, and that's showing up early.
And Arsenault at the plate can do that. Hits with plenty of power in that number 6 spot. Has 2 aboard, but nobody out in the second. Count even, a ball and a strike. Quick turnaround for Ohio, having played yesterday afternoon and concluding about 6 Eastern time. Now playing the first game today. Good off speed by Moore. You know, besides Moore being humble, he's a smart kid out there. And as a pitcher, he has dialed in to be able to change speeds on occasion when needed. Wild pitch there, though, and runners now moving to scoring position at second and third.
No chance for Deathridge behind the plate that time. Moore just holding on to that breaking ball a little too long, and no chance to be able to backhand that and knock it down. Now runners, 2 runners in scoring position.
Just the third baseman Mueller in at his position. Now the count runs full, as Ohio will concede the run early in this game. Second and third, nobody out. 3-2 pitch towards short. That will score a run. Game tied. Runner heading to third in there. Good running by Jack Jones. Wisniewski scores. Jordan Arsenault with the RBI ground out. Game tied at 1-1.
Boy, everybody played that right. Defense was playing back, as you'd mentioned. Avery back at the shortstop position, letting the run score here. Makes a nice throw over to first baseman, and Casey Parsons had a good chance to get the runner at third base, but he actually slipped when he was making the throw to third, so not in times as Jack Jones was able to slide in there safely.
That leads us to Adam Aralt, one of the coach's sons, Andy's son. Spent a lot of time working on his game, proving his hand approach to the game. And waves at that one and misses 1-1. Infield's still back here, John. We're in the second inning. That's not surprising, is it?
No, and because this Ohio team can put a lot of runs on the board, they feel like, you know, they want to not give up the big inning early in the ball game, and they feel like they can put the runs on the board if they give up just a few.
So the idea for A-roll at the plate is put it in play, preferably on the ground, and that likely will give Michigan the early lead. Instead, Moore gets his third strikeout, 2 outs. The catcher, Ryan Jones, hitting in the 8th spot, is next. Jones has been moved down in the lineup, but the kid they affectionately refer to as The Rock is not complaining about it.
Nope. Nice to have that behind your name when they call you The Rock behind the plate. That says something special.
And he's got an RBI chance here with 2 outs, as Moore is about to reach his 30th pitch.
That was a funny look he gave after that inside pitch. He turned around with some big eyes.
More throws from the windup. Bounce to short. Played well, throw is high, but in time. Davis Avery took that high hop and backed up a second. That's all he needed. Michigan gets a run on 2 hits and leaves a man in scoring position after an inning and a half. Michigan won, Ohio won. That's Hamilton, Ohio manager Ken Coomer. Hamilton West Side's history with the Little League World Series of Williamsport is extensive. Dates back to Tim Nichting's involvement in 1991. And in fact, in all 4 appearances, Hamilton's won at least 1 game in Williamsport. Here's a look at Mr. Nichting. You gave him some rather affectionate razzing yesterday about his fielding or his lack of fielding.
And I said on the air that I was going to give him a hard time today, and guess what? As baseball players do, I gave him a hard time. He took it well.
Davis Avery leads off and spanks one to left field. Straight away left, dove at the last minute. No problem for Jack Jones, 1 out.
Something about baseball players, you know, you got to be able to give it a little bit, but you have to be able to take it. And that's one thing you learn in the dugout. There's plenty of downtime, and if you're in the bullpen, there's even more downtime. So, got to learn to be able to take the razzing.
It's only because they love you, right?
That's right.
Here's Ethan Mueller getting a start today. Hitting the 6th spot, the 3rd baseman.
Not to belate, you know, he actually said at 91 and 93, he would have been able to reach down and make the play. He didn't want to even bend over for that.
He said he would have put it in his back pocket. Right.
We're talking about a ball yesterday, if you weren't with us, that was hit down the third base coach's box and went off his ankle.
Mueller, hard-working kid, off the bench yesterday, starting today. Favorite food is lobster.
I like that.
Off the change, goes the opposite way. No difficulty for Tommy Scheck, 2 outs. So the second fly out of the inning. Here's Casey Parsons, who was 2 for 2 officially yesterday. Scored all 4 times he came to the plate and blasted a mammoth homer.
Favorite athlete is his brother. I like that. That's sharing the love right there.
Absolutely.
We had one yesterday that favorite athlete was himself.
Yeah, almost as good as that, huh? I don't know, kids in their own personal bios at age 11, 12, and 13, that could be dangerous. Yeah. Count a ball and a strike. Brett Slow, the home plate umpire, part of the 4 volunteer umpires for this game. All umpires are volunteers for this tournament. And asked originally for time. Now the count goes to 2-1 for Parsons. Nick Brocious, the second baseman, and the 8th hitter would hit next.
Michigan's head coach Jason Hill said Randazzo throws 68 to 71 miles an hour. Sometimes that's...
Swing second base to pitcher. Randazzo covering. Well done. So Joseph Wisniewski gets in position to toss to Joey Randazzo, and it's 3 up and 3 down. After 2, Michigan 1, Ohio 1. Ohio with a run in the first, Michigan in the second. We're tied 1-1 in the third. Grosse Pointe, population 5,400, just outside of Detroit. Famous face, J.K. Simmons, Academy Award-winning actor. Jim Barber and John Gregory as we start the third, and we start with the bottom of the Michigan order. Tommy Scheck, the right fielder, then to the top, Drew Hill and Matthew Green.
Boy, Sweet Caroline. You know, that song, it's just meant to be for baseball, it seems like.
I agree.
It gets the fans going on both sides.
And John Fogerty's put me in coach. They played that earlier today, too. Scheck's a big hockey fan, probably a Red Wings fan, I would guess. Ball and a strike. Last inning, Joseph Wisniewski's grounded to third has been ruled an error now as this one heads down the first base line. Pitcher fields. Good play by Braden Moore. Over to the big target, Casey Parsons. 1 out. Wisniewski's ground ball now ruled an error. So that means Michigan's run in the second goes as an unearned run.
again, we see Moore's ability to come off the mound in a hurry and make a big play. That is not an easy play to make. He gets it, and you have to be careful with the runner, too. And big Casey Parsons down at first base gives you a good target to throw inside to stay away from that runner going down the line.
And that's the way to field it, too. You don't want the catcher fielding it. Pitcher really has his momentum, be able to turn and throw, and Moore threw a strike over to Parsons. Drew Hill grounded out Moore to first base the last time up. Ahead on the count, 2 balls, no strikes. Each little game, a 6-inning game, unless we have to play extras. Michigan drew the bye, as did Illinois in the Great Lakes. Illinois will play in a couple hours against Kentucky at 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 Central. And, of course, we'll have that for you as well. Kentucky's game with Indiana last night was terrific. 1-0. Indiana had the bases loaded in the 5th, failed to score. Runner on the 6th. Kentucky used 3 different pitchers to fire 1 hitter.
And it was amazing that 4 of the 6 innings, Indiana had the leadoff hitter on with a walk and were not able to get him to come around and score. And we typically don't see that here in Little League Baseball. If you walk guys, they're going to come around and score, but Indiana not able to do it last night.
Yeah, that's a good point. Team that put together 100 runs in 6 games, whitewashed in its first game. But this being modified double elimination, there's still hope for Indiana, as there is for Wisconsin, who lost yesterday to this Ohio team. And the format allows them to have a day off and face elimination tomorrow as opposed to today. Count full. And on the 3-2 pitch, the bounce toward third base, and Mueller. Ethan Mueller picks up his first assist of the game. 2 outs. And Matthew Green is struck out in the first.
Have to be ready at the hot corner. 1 step. Ball was hit hard. Makes a good throw over to first base. Good reaction that time.
Well, imagine if you're Matthew Green, at one point you were hitting in the 9 position, you have been elevated or promoted all the way to the 2nd spot, John.
That's a pretty good move up in the lineup, and it's because of the hard work that he's putting in. We said before, this team working on trying to hit it to all fields. You know, all these kids play for different teams throughout the year, and once they get to All-Stars, they get some different coaching and a little bit different perspective, and a lot of these coaches start preaching hit it back up the middle and all over. And they've been able to do that and have success for Michigan, but not there.
Nope. Braden Moore has now retired 6 in a row and has struck out 4. Middle of the 3rd, Michigan 1, Ohio 1. Good start to this one as Joey Randazzo gets ready to go. Let's talk about a pitch speed equivalent. Little League World Series numbers, and let's relate that to what Major League Baseball will be able to convert it to.
Yeah, you take a look at that. 70 miles an hour equals 91 in the big leagues, and Jason Hill said that Randazzo will throw anywhere from 68 to 71. Well, he was right. He touched 71 last inning, and that equates to about a 72-mile-an-hour fastball in the major league. So if you think these kids' reaction doesn't have to be quick, don't let it fool you. These kids are facing a 90-mile-an-hour fastball out there on the mound.
We were talking with the Michigan coaches today. Lance Lynn, when he pitched in the Little League World Series from Brownsburg, Indiana, now he's with the St. Louis Cardinals, was clocked at over 80 miles an hour in Little League.
That's really unhittable.
Yeah. Nick Brocious, the 8th hitter, to be followed by Clint Moak and then Braden Moore. So for Kent Coomer, the skipper, it's 8, 9, and 1 hitters in a 1-1 game. Randazzo to the plate. And a ball and 2 strikes. 24 pitches so far. That's been efficient. And the major league equivalent on that fastball, almost 95. Illinois and Kentucky in the winner's bracket to follow. Then later this afternoon, Missouri and Nebraska in the Midwest. And the Dakotas against Minnesota tonight. Grosse is hanging around. He had a huge game yesterday. 2 for 3, couple runs scored, RBI. Batting in the latter part of the lineup.
Just an 11-year-old too. That's that sprinkle of the young guys we were talking about and some veterans in the lineup. This is a young guy that you can expect if this team comes back next year. And, you know, why wouldn't they? They've been here 10 of the last 12 years. So
yeah,
if they come back, it's players like this that gain that valuable experience this year that can just kind of lead the team next year.
Off the change, count goes to 2-2. Not a bad pitch on 1-2 after your batter's fouled off a couple to see if he gets a little aggressive and tries to chase, which Grosse did not. Did he go around? Count now full, 3 balls, 2 strikes. In the first 2 innings, Ohio has failed to get its leadoff hitter on. And let's see if Grosse can change that with a full count pitch coming from Joey Randazzo. And Grosse is aboard. So now the 9th hitter, Clint Moak, comes to the plate, the right fielder, and let's see if the bunt is on. And a chance to put Braden Moore in a scoring situation.
Boy, you can see the smile on Randazzo's face right there, but he's hiding a little bit of frustration. You can see him clapping his hand emotionally. Those were 2 pitches that probably could have gone his direction just off of the outside corner.
Won't see any demonstration like John Lackey of the Cubs has toward umpires, do you? Here?
No, you won't see that. That's a good thing. Good sportsmanship here, and that's another pitch right there, and you can see Randazzo shaking his head saying, that's just the opposite corner right there. He still continues to pound that fastball in there for strikes.
Big fan of SpongeBob SquarePants. That over the head of Moak, 1-1. But really, I mean, are pitchers ever completely happy?
Sometimes you get an umpire behind the plate that really does you some favors, and you can get happy those days.
In the major leagues, Country Joe West, who's been there for a very long time, actually requires every batter to say hello to him when they step into the box.
Wasn't he the guy that got a picture taken in the All-Star game?
I believe so, yes. On the 1-2, credit Randazzo with a strikeout. That's his first, 1 away.
That's really demanding. Take pictures with me now when you come up. Don't just say hi. We're going to get a visit to the mound here. And one of the things I was going to mention, that's 34 pitches for Randazzo out on the mound. Both of these starting pitchers have been really efficient. And with a game that's 1-1, I don't imagine you make no changes out on the mound. And your 2 top guys are going to go as long as possible to try to get that victory today.
Yeah, I'm sure the discussion isn't about pitching eligibility yet. But those are the numbers for you to be aware of. And we will remind you, as viewers to this broadcast, what the length of a pitcher can be. Now, the one catch, which has been evident and available in all Little League Baseball for years, is that you can start off a batter and have a number of pitches, and those pitches are gratis toward that number, particularly if you're going to be yanked after that. Right now, Randazzo at 35 with a man on base, 1 out, and a 1-1 tie. And 21 of his 14 pitches, 60%, have been good for strikes. What's a good percentage from strikes to balls, would you say? 75 maybe?
Tough to say. Sometimes the hitters will help you out as far as strikes go, but if it's just location.
It's going to be a wild pitch, and it was difficult for the catcher Jones to locate. So in the meantime, Grosse is in a scoring position. So in this situation, knowing how dangerous Moore is, let's see if Randazzo goes after him or pitches around him as the count has reached 3-0. And they're very careful with Moore. On 4 pitches, he's on first base. Runners at first and second. One out. That's not an intentional walk, John, but at the same time, how careful were they with him, in your opinion?
Well, probably pretty careful. I mean, you've seen Randazzo. He's not a guy that walks a whole lot of players up there, and their coaches said before the game they're going to be very careful with him at the plate, and you could see it there.
Kate Polito has 2 on base, headed towards center field, base hit. Run around third, is going to score. Moore digging for third base. They're going to send him on the overthrow. Polito in the second. Ohio leads 3-1. And Kate Polito, you referred to it earlier about the hot bat. She does it again.
Yeah, again, she hits it the opposite direction. Again, not hit extremely hard, but in the right spot. It falls in. And how about the best aggressive base running of Braden Moore? Tim Nichting just sending him home immediately when he saw that throw go in there, and Polito again finds herself at second base. She takes advantage of the overthrow.
He's just having a splendid tournament now, 5 for 6. And has already scored 3 runs. She's at second base. For Blake Deathridge, and Ohio has gained the lead for the second time today. So that leadoff walk to Nick Brocious, unlike what we saw and you referred to in the Indiana game, comes back to spank Michigan. Winner of this game gets a day off. Won't have to play again until Wednesday. So this is big. And if you win on Wednesday, then you get to the championship. Not an easy route, but a quicker one than most.
Yep. And the thing about it is, and then you get all your pitching back that maybe you used in the first few games. But for Ohio, they were so efficient yesterday in the big numbers they scored, they could go through pitchers and not have to have anybody sit out. The only guy not available for them today is Davis Avery. He can't go today, but he'll be able to come back and throw in a couple days if needed.
Count now reaches 3 balls and a strike. Michigan's going to get some bullpen activity, I think. Count even, or rather full now, 3-2. Kate Polito's the runner at second base, 2 runs in. Already an error in this inning. And that was part of the 2 runs that scored moments ago. In the dirt, another wild pitch, runner around to third. To first base goes Deathridge. It's first and third with just 1 out.
And the pressure on the defense continues. We're going to have some changes here.
Tim Nichting, the third base coach, former manager of Hamilton, Ohio.
Special runnings for 13. 8 special runnings for 13.
We'll translate that for you. 8 is Logan Bell. 13 is Blake Deathridge. Bell will pinch run. You can do that during the course of the game with a special pitch runner twice. Past years, you could do it once an inning. But in an effort to speed up the game, it's been limited for this year, and it's a good idea. Blake Cundiff looking for his first hit in the tournament, 0 for 5. Grounded out the third base in the first. Runners at first and third, Ohio up 3-1 and looking for more. Toward left field. Let's see if they tag the runner and send. And lost in the sun. That'll go as a base hit. Tough spot for Jack Jones, as there is plenty of sun on this field compared to yesterday. So it's runners at first and second. And Kate Polito scores easily to make it 4-1.
And that's why you got to run everything out. You never know. And you could see him battling out there. I think he had some sunglasses on his top of his head, maybe. I'm not sure if he had them on or not, but they're on now as he's looking up in the sky, a little frustrated out there.
It's been a tough inning for Michigan, who had played Ohio even coming into the third. Now it's 4-1. Davis Avery. What an inning he had yesterday against Wisconsin. He doubled and scored. He homered. and knocked in another run. That was all in one inning in which Ohio put 17 at the plate, nearly batted around John twice.
And although he had a couple hits in the championship game in the state tournament, when we talked to the coaches before the game, they said his glove's a plus. They didn't even mention his bat. And that's a pretty good day, along with being out on the mound.
Oh, yes. Third pitcher on this team was used yesterday. Well, damage has been done to Michigan. Now I got to find a way to get out of this before more is inflicted. Michigan will have the heart of its order up in the fourth. 3, 4, and 5 hitters. Towards second base, double play ball out at second to first. Nicely done. Wisniewski to Green, back to Arol. But Ohio gets 3 runs, 2 hits on an error, and 3 walks. Kate Polito's been the star so far in this game. In fact, in both games. 4-1 Ohio over Michigan after 3. Three-run third inning, the difference in our game as Kate Polito got an RBI hit, came around to score, and Lake Cundiff got his first hit of the tournament. Ohio 4-4-1 on the line score. Michigan 1-1-1. Some of the artistry here at Grand Park. A lot of terrific signs. See some fat heads occasionally. I don't mean up in the booth. I mean,
yeah, Michigan fans have a bunch of fat heads out there.
Joey Randazzo towards short. And that'll be an error on Davis Avery. So Michigan has its leadoff hitter on for the second time today, and both times has been by way of error.
Randazzo's had some bad luck. He's been able to reach the bag, so it's not necessarily bad luck, but 2 balls that he's hit pretty hard right at the shortstop and third baseman, but finds his way on the first base bag.
Here's Joseph Wisniewski. Well, if you're Ohio, the plan is simple. You don't want this to be a give-back inning. You got 3, and you don't want to give it back. Wisniewski, huge fan of Bryce Harper. Apparently the chant lately is we want Harper in Chicago. And even one of the wives of the Cubs had a hashtag like that, having some fun with Bryce Harper and friends of Harper's wife. I imagine that Washington will have the lead on that when contract talks come around.
I would bet there'd be a bunch of teams that would want to hold up signs saying we want Harper.
Yeah. Wisniewski aboard, and that means the tying run comes to the plate with nobody out in the fourth. Jack Jones coming up. Singled, made it all the way to third base before the inning ended in the second. 47 pitches now for the starter, Braden Moore. So let's go inside that huddle. What might Ken Coomer be discussed?
Probably the fact that we got Jack Jones at the plate. This guy's a power hitter. Let's talk about location settling down. It's a 4-1 lead right now. Let's face the hitter, get him out. Maybe we get out of the inning with a double play here that gets us close, gets us a couple outs, and then all we need is 1. We're okay giving up 1 or even 2 runs here. Let's not give up the big play.
John, we just learned longtime Major League player Don Baylor's passed away.
Oh.
Former MLB manager.
Sad.
Yeah.
Sad news.
Did some DHing, I believe, in his career, and was the manager of the Colorado Rockies for a while. Jones, the number 6 hitter. With nobody out here in the fourth, Michigan with a chance at a big inning and a comeback. And Moore now having trouble finding the plate. He has missed on 6 consecutive pitches. Jordan Arsenault would bat next. Runners at first and second. And Jones swinging on 2-0, had a good cut.
Right at pitch number 50 right there, and you're absolutely correct. Jones right on that pitch, fouled it back Almost straight, a good indication that he was on it.
Dialed in as Moore will work from the windup. 3-1. Ball gets away down to second base. Runner's going to try to advance. Here's a throw to third, and he's out. Michigan may want to protest it as Randazzo took a chance there. In fact, Randazzo's not leading the base. I believe he was called out.
Oh. Probably the wrong decision that time to go. And obviously it was, and it looked like the throw beat him there, but I don't know if the tag got there in time. They're going to take a look at it, but Randazzo more than anything is pleading his case because he may have made a mistake there, but he could get fortunate that the tag wasn't in time.
Jason Hill, the third base coach and manager of this team, is going to instant replay with a challenge. That was a heck of a chance by Randazzo.
Here's a really good look at it. Yeah, I think they're going to stay with that call.
And right now, Hill talking to Randazzo, unlikely about the idea that that's a little risky, young man.
Yeah. If he had it to do over, he probably doesn't do it. Or if you're just not as good an athlete as Randazzo, he thought he could probably get there. But this Ohio defense ready for anything. But that was really a weird play. Moore just whiffed on it on the mound. That wasn't a throw to second base.
That was a throwback to him.
It was a throwback to him, and he just took his eye off it. And fortunately, Avery was standing there by the second base bag and was able to make the throw to third base and get the out.
Over to Ethan Mueller with the tag. Now the question is the play upheld? Call on the field, out at third base.
Randazzo, an emotional player out there. We saw it on the mound a little earlier when he didn't have a couple pitches called in his favor.
And it is confirmed, and he still can't believe it. But now, instead of 2 on, nobody out, there's a man at first with 1 out. And that's a teaching moment, and I think you brought it up and made your point solid. That's too big of a chance to take in a 3-run deficit game.
Yeah, you never want to make the first or third out at third base either. And in this case here, he may have taken his team out of a rally. A double play now, and Ohio is out of this inning.
And Moore has gone on Jones from 3-0 now to a full count. Check that, it was 2-0 now to a full count. 3-2 pitch from Braden Moore. Base hit all the way in the gap. Wisniewski around third is going to score. And it's an RBI double for Jack Jones. He's got a sweet swing. And that makes it 4-2. Now you start to wonder, had Randazzo not taken that chance, maybe a bigger inning for Michigan.
And he's probably thinking about it. He's a good athlete. He knows that. But Jack Jones here delivers a nice ball out to right center field. Again, part of going the opposite direction. And boy, the speed of Wisniewski as he comes around to score there easily on that ball that was hit to deep right center.
Michigan back in business now, 4-2. Here's Jordan Arsenault. Hits with plenty of power, can spray it all over the diamond. Batting 6th in the lineup. Waves of that one, 2 strikes and nothing. Braden Moore about to deliver his 55th pitch. The only out in this inning was something you referred to as just a bizarre play in the throwback to Moore. Moore failed to catch it.
You know, but one of the things, you got good coaching there. The middle infielders will protect that throw behind the mound.
Good play at short, great throw. Well done by Davis Avery. He's been tough in that position, and there were 2 outs, and that had to freeze Jones at second base.
There's the base hit by Jones out to right center field, and the run scores. They're able to get back in this thing.
That's 3 plays now for the shortstop, Davis Avery. Actually, if you count the rundown or the tag out of Randazzo, actually 4 assists now in the game for Avery. That's a healthy day for a shortstop. Adam Arolt. (4-2) Ohio, top of the fourth. A little more than halfway home in the game. The longest yard is Arolt's favorite movie. This one to the backstop. Jones around the third. Hasn't been Braden Moore's best inning, that's for sure.
No, it's almost like he's lost a little bit of concentration. A great example is when that ball was thrown back to him on the mound, that he just kind of whiffed on it. It's like he's thinking about something else.
Gets the strike there. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Trying to keep this a 2-run game. Arolt struck out in the first. Batting left-handed against the right-handed Moore. Moore tried to get the call on the same pitch moments earlier. Didn't get it. Count runs full. Ryan Jones would bat next. And Braden Moore, when he's needed it, has come up with a strikeout pitch. In fact, that's ended 3 of Michigan's 4 innings. Michigan gets a run on one of the identical twins, Jack Jones. Rocket into the gap. 4-2 Ohio, bottom 4. Will Flom is the new Michigan pitcher as Joey Randazzo pitches 3 innings, now moves to the shortstop spot. Catch all the excitement of the Little League World Series, including scores, stats, highlights, and more. Visit LLBWS.org or follow along on social media with hashtag LLWS. Jim Barber and John Gregory, day 2. Little League World Series from Westfield, Indiana, and Grand Park. Jackson Martin pinch hitting right now for Ethan Mueller. Will start the Ohio 4th. Ohio 4 runs, 4 hits, couple of errors. Michigan 2-2 and 1. Will Flom, the number 3 arm on this Michigan team, pressed into duty after Randazzo threw 3 innings.
Jimmy, just wonder about this change on the mound. Had Michigan scored and maybe tied this ball game up with a bigger inning, would they have stayed with Randazzo on the mound?
Yeah. As it is, his day ends after 50 pitches. Got the corner, strike 3.
Great location for Flom that time, right on the outside corner.
So 1 away here in the last of the 4th. And Casey Parsons, who homered yesterday, scored 4 times. 0 for 1 today and a grounded to second base. Illinois and Kentucky would be next. Ohio now in the tournament has outscored opponents 26-6. Although this game resembles nothing of what we saw yesterday from Hamilton. Flaw misses again. It is 3 balls, no strikes. Nick Grosse is scheduled to bat next, and we say that as we move on later in the game. Scheduled a lot because that means chances to use pinch hitters and make sure everybody gets a chance to play usually comes into play. Parsons on board with a 1-out walk. And batting for Nick Grosse will be Jared Alupnik. Alupnik got to play some yesterday.
Dan's batting for 14. 14 goes. Go, go, go.
Well, Broches will be pinch hit for, and then he'll turn around and become the special runner. It's the beauty of Little League, isn't it?
I like that.
Yeah.
Over at first base is a special pinch runner, number 14, Nick Grosse.
So Jared Halupnik comes to the plate. It's a special story in Halupnik. Both of his parents are deaf, while he and his brother have had no physical deficiencies or defects, and in fact have had to do a lot, along with help from relatives to assist the parents. Incredible story.
It really is. And you just don't know some of the backstories behind all these kids and how they get here. But boy, when you learn about some of them, you just kind of admire what they have to go through and all of that. And here's one of those stories.
This is his first year of Little League Baseball. His team ahead 4-2 and a runner at first base. Strike one. Ohio has yet to trail in this tournament, albeit just the second day of activity. Jumped on Wisconsin yesterday. Scored once in the first today after Michigan tied the game at 1. Got 3 in the third. A beautiful day for baseball. Humidity relatively low. Wind blowing out. Temperatures in the 70s. And dare I jinx us, don't rain.
I'm not saying a thing.
I know that. You are a baseball superstition guy
That's right.
through and through, aren't you? Toward left field for Jones. 2 outs. Jack hauls it in. Bring up the 9th hitter, at least the scheduled 9th hitter, and Clint Moak.
Jones with the glasses on now. No doubt about that one.
Yep.
Looking up into the same sky.
And there'll be another pinch hitter, J.C. Taylor, who started yesterday for Ohio. So Taylor with a runner on base, and Nick Grosse with 2 outs in the bottom of the 4th. First inning of work for relief pitcher Will Flom. Michigan in the 5th, bottom of the order, beginning with Jones. Strike one. This game is shade over an hour old. Opposite way, it hit deep. Jones chasing, gone. How about that for a pinch hitter? J.C. Taylor goes yard. Ohio's lead 6-2.
You mentioned it, a starter yesterday, and they said she's a power left-handed hitter that can hit it all over. Had 12 home runs during the year this year, and she adds another one here in the regional and sets her team up for a chance to go to the Little League World Series. Opposite field home run, and boy, the 2 girls on this team are dangerous at the plate.
Boy, they are. Combine that with Polito, who's 6 for 7. And Ohio now stretches its lead to its largest at 6-2. Tim Nichting is motioning from his third base spot over to, I imagine it's J.C. Taylor.
Yeah.
Probably said, hey, I told you something.
That's right. I told you I'm not starting you today, but we're going to need you off the bench later on. And that's how kids react. And that's good coaching. You go over there and you say, hey, thank you for being ready when I ask you to step up and play.
Fourth home run for Ohio hitters in 2 days. Braden Moore is at the plate. Moore popped out to second base, walked and scored.
Well, and how important maybe are those 2 runs for insurance purposes here. Getting later in this ball game.
And now if you're Ohio staff, what about the use of starting pitcher Moore?
Well, look at his numbers, see where he is. I think you take him to the next level, and then maybe you think about possibility. But really it depends on how you feel like you can get to this guy out on the mound. If you can feel like you can put some more runs on the board, then maybe you make that change. If you don't feel that comfortable with it, then stay with the guy that's on the mound.
The winner of this game moves on to Wednesday's regional round and just a win shy then of the championship game on Saturday. Moore out on strikes. But J.C. Taylor going the opposite way with a 2-run homer as a pinch hitter. And after 4, it is Ohio 6, Michigan 2. John, I think if this game had a theme, it would be girl power for Ohio, huh?
Yeah, no question about that. Polito, base hit to right field to get a couple runs score here for this Ohio team. And then Joey Jones on the other side, he laces one to right center field. And they pick up an RBI, and Ohio continued to do it.
2-run homer by J.C. Taylor off the bench, the opposite way over the head of Jack Jones. And Hamilton, Ohio, now 6 outs away from continuing in the winners bracket on Wednesday. Well, Jaden Moore is scheduled to start the 5th. Now Ken Coomer, the manager, is going to chat with him, and he grabbed something from him.
That was a good look at Kate Polito out there in right field.
I don't think that's a cell phone, is it?
I don't know. We thought maybe he lost a little concentration last inning. Maybe he's texting. Who knows?
Tommy Harris is going to step in for Ryan Jones to start the 5th. Michigan could use some base runners, facing its largest deficit. Loser of this game will come back and play tomorrow night in an elimination game. Count 2 balls and no strikes. Michigan to be very careful at the plate with every pitch now. Check that, 3 balls and no strikes, and that's ball 4 for Tommy Harris.
Now batting for Michigan, the pitcher, Will Flom.
For the game now, Moore, his 2nd walk. And here's Will Flom. Nobody out in the 5th. Moore now 66 pitches. Drew Hill, the leadoff hitter, would bat next. Outside the plate, 1-1.
Well, you mentioned how long they go with Braden Moore out on the mound. I think if Flum's able to get on first base, I think another visit to the mound, and they may consider doing something here.
Good curveball there, 1-2.
Sometimes if you can't get that fastball across, you mix in something else and kind of get that rhythm back together.
Strike 3. Well, if Moore had an inning of lack of concentration, he's back now.
There you go.
Jason Hill now with some conversation. Braden Campbell's going to pinch hit for Drew Hill.
3 for 8. That's top of the order. 3 for 8.
Pitch hitting for Michigan, number 3, Braden Campbell.
You did some pitching in the minors, right?
Yes.
Did you ever lose concentration out there?
Sure you do.
What happens?
Well, yeah. See that movie For the Love of the Game? Sometimes you just can't clear the mechanism.
Okay.
You know, that concentration just, you know, whether it's something personal going on or whatever, but you have good days and bad days, and some days you just lose it in particular innings. For me, it used to be the 5th inning for some reason.
Really?
And I knew it. If I could get by the 5th, I felt pretty good.
So it became like a psychological hurdle, huh?
Oh, yeah. That's part of baseball. You know, as a player, where your weaknesses are or when you tend to start thinking about other stuff. And not that he was, but, you know, that ball that he just whiffed on when it came back to the mound, that was just an idea. But he bounced back immediately.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes something like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To snap you to attention.
Yep.
Here comes manager Coomer as the count has reached 2-0. The pitch count is at 72. Moore has fallen behind a couple of batters in this inning. And think about it, when Randazzo took his chance the previous inning, if they hadn't cut him down, Michigan might have been staring at a big inning then.
They certainly had the opportunity to make it a little bit closer. At the time, it was 4-2 or 4-1, and it could have been easily 4-3. And extend now, Ohio's extended it out to 6-2 lead.
And it's Moore's job to make sure he doesn't give it back. Count on Braden Campbell, 2 balls, no strikes, with a man at second base and 1 out, and Ohio protecting a 4-run lead. Throw down the second into center field. Be a throwing error on Deathridge, which allows Tommy Harris to advance to third. Strike called, 3-1. Check that, 2-1. Yes, it is 3-1. Infield back, sacrificing the run for an out. Caught the corner, 3-2.
It seems like Moore has gone to the breaking ball a little bit more now. Lost the ability to throw strikes somewhat with the fastball.
See what he throws on a full count pitch. Good pitch.
Yeah, it looked like almost a changeup that time, as Campbell was way out front.
And for Braden Moore, who's had a strikeout in every inning, that's number 7. Chase Reinhardt will step to the plate. So 2 outs now, runner at third base. Top of the 5th inning, Ohio leading Michigan.
I like how they described Reinhardt, the coaching staff did at Michigan. They said he can run into one at any time, and you could tell by his size at the plate. It's one of those groove swingers. He gets it in his spot. He can turn on it and get it out of this ballpark and make this thing a 2-run ball game.
Yeah, they say he struggled a bit, but trying to work through that. Good opportunity here for an RBI hit to cut into that Ohio lead. And a good eye as he lays off. Pitch on the outer edge, 2-1. 2, 3, and 4 hitters scheduled for Ohio in the bottom of the 5th. Braden Moore has a chance to strike out the side. Full sunshine now at the Diamond. 2-2 pitch, blew him away with a fastball. Good job by Braden Moore, who strikes out the side. Michigan threatens but fails to score. Middle of the 5th, Ohio 6, Michigan 2. Back at Grand Park, Michigan 6. Michigan trailing 6-2 against Ohio's Drew Hill. Appears on the mound for Grosse Pointe here in the bottom of the 5th. Jim Barber, John Gregory. The first of 4 games today on ESPN. It's the left-handed thrower Hill against Kate Polito, who is 5 for 6 in the tournament. Not only has she not been an easy out, she's been rarely an out. 2 for 2 today, 2 runs batted in. And a very productive and dangerous hitter in the 2 spot for Ken Coomer. Polito's the right fielder. Blake Detheridge and Lake Cundiff are scheduled to hit after her. Ohio now with a 28-6 run disparity against opponents in 2 days. Spank toward left field and dropping. Base hit. Now 3 for 3. And the hits just keep on coming. She's amazing. 6 for 7 now in the tourney.
Yesterday we saw her make great contact with line drives. Today it's been 3 base hits, but all of them have fallen in. And when things are going your way, they certainly are. That ball again falls in, and you see another time she's on base. And whenever she's on the bags, she's dangerous to put pressure on that defense because of her speed.
Yeah, here's Logan Bell, who does a nice job of getting on base. And in fact, Bell, in a relief role yesterday, came through on a couple occasions. Ohio with an opportunity to add to a 6-2 lead. Bell was actually hit by a pitch in that wild and wacky 4th inning where Ohio scored 13 times. He was hit with the bases loaded, so he got an RBI. Then later singled in the inning for an RBI. Lefty versus righty. Popped up. Headed toward left field and dropping. Polito in the second. Misplayed in the outfield. She'll go to third. Runners at second and third. Nobody out. Starts as a base hit, then an error in the outfield. Allows them advance to second and third. Logan Bell's been on 3 bases, or been on base 3 times now in 2 days.
Again, another lazy fly to the outfield. The ball hits the ground there, and then you could see Randazzo actually kicked it. And that allowed the runners to get 1 more base.
And here's Lake Cundiff. Finally got his first hit of the tournament in the 3rd inning and got an RBI for it. On the off-speed pitch from Drew Hill, strike 1. Michigan bringing the infield in, cannot afford to allow any more to score. Bounce toward short. Runner will score. Bobbled it short. Everybody's safe. (7-2) Ohio. Yeah, in some ways, this is eerily reminiscent of the 4th inning against Wisconsin yesterday. When Ohio knows that's in position for the kill, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, we say it. I know I've said it over and over. Putting pressure on defense, another perfect example. Getting some guys on somehow, some way. Guys and girls on, I should say. And finding a way to get them in. They just takes the extra base and put pressure. If you bobble 1, they're going to score 1.
Deflected by Hill. And Cundiff gets back to first base. Was that ruled an error or a hit? Okay.
Hit.
And checking earlier. Ball in the dirt. Runner down to second base. And on a potential double steer, at least in the minds of Michigan, Randazzo cut it off. But instead, everybody stays where they're at. Logan Bell at third. And Lake Cundiff now on the second with a stolen base. Still nobody out in the inning. Davis Avery 0 for 2 today. Bounced into a double play in the 3rd. Ohio run in the 1st, 3 in the 3rd, 2 now in the 4th. And threatening in the 5th with runners at second and third, nobody out. 1 out. Drew Hill takes something off and gets the first recorded strikeout for him in the 5th inning.
Big lefty with the big breaking ball. 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock that time, right over the top from the big lefty.
And translate, if you will, what 12 o'clock means as opposed to 6 o'clock.
That means starting at the very top. If you picture in a clock, that's where the breaking ball starts. Starts at 12 o'clock and ends up down there at 6 o'clock. Sometimes you can see the big sweeping breaking ball, which would be like more 9-3 from a lefty.
Ethan Mueller now at the plate. Mueller flied out to right field in his only at bat. Base hit here could score 2 more for Ohio. We were talking earlier about what inning was difficult for you, and I think about the Cubs this year off their World Series title and how the first inning has been difficult for their starters. Bunt runner holding at third, throw to third, no, good fake, and they got the runner held up, but nobody covering because both third base and pitcher were in the same position, so now they're loaded. So the fielder's choice puts Mueller on first base.
Now, pretty heads-up play by Drew Hill there. When he got to this ball, he figured he had no chance to get Mueller down at the first base bag, so he pumped it and had the runner at third base fooled. Again, nobody was there at the third base bag. Randazzo, the shortstop, was kind of covering second base at the time. So, again, Ohio did nothing big by moving the ball outside in the outfield anywhere, but they put it in play and something else good happened for them.
Bringing Casey Parsons to the plate, who takes a strike. Favorite website, ESPN.com. Well, if he makes it to the championship game with his team, they'll have no problem giving him publicity.
Well, big country. He hits another home run like he did yesterday. Game 1 to left field. He'll show some highlights of big country.
Back-to-back hits in this inning. Followed by 2 other base runners reaching. And that hit him. That's an RBI for Grosse, or rather Parsons. It is 8-2 now, Ohio. So for the second time in as many days, Ohio has scored a run on a hit batsman with the bases loaded. Jared Alubnik will bat next. Hit in the 4th inning and flew out to left.
You know, sometimes you have to look back to the state tournament and you see them, this Michigan team giving up 8 runs today versus Ohio. And you go back, look at the scores at the state tournament versus Taylor North Central. They gave up 1 in 6 innings. Against Kingsford, they gave up no runs. And against Dexter in the championship game, they gave up no runs. So sometimes it's how do you react to adversity. And right now, it just seems like Ohio keeps that pressure up, and Michigan has not been able to handle it so far on the defensive side of things.
So Alubnik with 1 out and the bases loaded takes a strike.
I will add, though, that Ohio has hit some balls that have just been lucky. They've fallen into the right spots. Some balls have not been hit hard at all. Perfect example is the swing and the bunt, basically.
Well, Michigan's plan today was to take advantage of some of the free and aggressive swinging of Ohio. And while this game was even at 1-1 in the 3rd, the problem is if you start to make mistakes in the outfield, you pay mightily with this Ohio team. This one away from the catcher, running, trying to score, safe. Perfect example, don't you think?
Take advantage, that's for sure.
3 runs now in the inning, 9-2 Ohio. Has to be demoralizing for a defense, too. In this inning, or in this game rather, there's been a fly ball that's dropped in. You mentioned being lucky. So the outfielder Jones lost it in the sun. There have been a few wild pitches. A gamble Michigan didn't need to take on the bases. And against a team with so much power and ability to spray to all fields, that's lethal.
Yeah, you're right. As you see the strikeout there, and through the state tournament, sometimes you can make some mistakes and get away with it. When you get to this level, at the regional level, very difficult to do. Teams will take advantage.
2 for 3.
Thank you.
Well, the last time J.C. Taylor stepped to the plate, opposite field home run. She'll bat again. And Taylor did not have a hit yesterday in 2 at-bats and did not hit in that 13-run inning that Ohio had. I think she took that personally. She didn't get to share in all that great wealth.
Just the fact that she was a starter yesterday, not today, but she comes off the bench and delivers. That's being a teammate.
And even at this level, isn't there a little bit of, hey, I'm going to show you,
Oh, yeah.
manager, you know?
Yeah, because all these kids are all-stars. I mean, for them to sit after hitting 12 home runs this year for for her team, that's a hard thing to swallow sometimes. But for the good of the team, and when you want to get to the Little League World Series, this Hamilton team's been there enough to know that these kids give up something to be a part of this team.
Solid point. 2-2 count with 2 outs. By the way, should she homer again, game over with the 10-run rule in effect. Full count, runners at second and third. And Drew Hill to the plate. So back to the top of the lineup, and Braden Moore, who yesterday with the bases loaded hit a grand slam. Let's see if Ken Coomer gives Moore a chance to hit here. Looks like he's going to go with a special pinch runner instead. J.C. Taylor comes out, and we didn't see it on our camera, but she was kind of dodging the runner that was coming in and the pitcher, and the big grin on her face.
Yeah, Clint Moles, he was.
Well, if Moore does what he did yesterday, that'll be it. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Hill to Moore. Gets away from the catcher. Here comes the runner. Throw to the plate. Now they've got a runner held up, either at third or second, and everybody's going to get back to their spot.
Good hustle by Ryan Jones behind home plate. They're not giving up. Score could be 9-2, but he bounced around, got there, and was trying to save that extra run.
Time being called, little equipment adjustment at second base. Down the third baseline, foul. Braden Moore today, he's had a modest afternoon and morning at the plate. He's popped out, reached on a walk, and scored, and struck out. So if you tell Michigan prior to the game, look, Moore's not going to be a factor, at least at the plate.
Yeah.
What do you think your chances are?
Pretty good.
Yeah. And yet, Grosse Pointe down 7. Headed to left field, base hit. That'll score at least one. And Tim Nichting will hold up the runner at third. Makes it a 10-2 game. Well, Nichting has had the most pleasant problem of actually halting his base runners in one-sided games. Any third base coach will take that.
No question about it, as you see another run plated there, and 10-2 ball game now as Ohio continues to put on some pressure.
Back to Kate Polito, who's had a base hit to left, a base hit to center, a base hit to right. 6 hits and 7 at bats in the tournament. Has scored 5 runs, has driven in 4. John, you said this during the break a couple of innings ago. If there was an MVP or most outstanding player, we're looking right at her.
Yeah, well, we're just through. You're right, just through 2 games, but right now she's putting herself in a position that way. If she continues to play like she is right now, wouldn't that be something?
And Polito retired for just the second time since the tournament began. But Ohio puts on 4 more, 3 outs away from moving on in the winner's bracket, leading Michigan 10-2. Jim Barber, John Gregory, Braden Moore trying to go as far as he can here in the top of the 6th, which likely will be our last inning with Ohio, leading 10-2. Now plating 32 runs in 2 games in 9 innings at the plate. Remember yesterday's game, Ohio batted in just 4 innings. Today, hitting in 5, barring, I guess, what would be called a miracle. Joey Randazzo, who's 0 for 2 today, gets out of the way of a high fastball. And Moore will take this to the limit. He's at 83 pitches. That means he'll have 4 days rest. And if Ohio wins on Wednesday, Moore is in position to come back for the championship on Saturday.
Yeah, and this is going to be his last hitter here.
Yes.
So they'll have to bring somebody in. A change going to have to be made. Pitch count, once you reach 85, you can finish the hitter, but you can't start a new one.
Well, Moore's not likely to come out of the game, but regardless of what happens, he should get a nice round of applause from the Ohio faithful. He's pitched well, and he has reared back and got the strikeout when he needed it.
Well, they saved him for today against this very difficult Michigan team, and he's been up to the task.
Yes.
Couple innings here and there, but he's been pretty efficient. To get through 86 pitches through 6 innings, that's efficiency.
Randazzo down the line. We'll go from a single into a double. Good for Joey. He's had a tough day today. Good to see him swinging the bat and getting an extra base hit to start the 6th.
No question about it. You can see it's a guy on the mound they expected to be able to shut down this Ohio team. Not able to do it, but you're right. Good to see him finish this game up with something positive.
So everybody's standing right now for Braden Moore. And he deserves it.
No question.
Humble kid. Good baseball IQ. And able to get at least a strikeout in every inning. John, let's look back at his strikeout pitch today.
That was fastballs. He was peppering them in there, getting good location. There's a sharp breaking ball, and another fastball up in the strike zone. You can see his catcher setting up high. He wanted this Michigan team to chase those fastballs, and he got him to do it. Picked up quite a bit of strikeouts today because of it.
And credit the Ohio coaching staff. You know, veterans and Coomer and Nichting. I mean, they took a look at this entire field as you take a look at Lake Cundiff, set to finish things off for Ohio. and said, look, we're not going to start our number one on Sunday. We think we can beat Wisconsin without him. We'll come back with more in the winner's bracket on Monday. And if he wins, we'll go as far as we can with him, and he can come back Saturday.
Sure.
And Ohio will be just one win away, assuming wrapping this game up shortly, from reaching that Saturday championship.
It's a great thing when plans fall into place, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, just how you draw it up, right? But I think also indicative of a program that's been to Indianapolis before.
Sure.
North of Indianapolis, in this case, in Westfield.
Yep, they know how to set up the pitching staff, that's for sure. They've been here many times.
Joseph Wisniewski scored twice today, reaching on an error and on a walk. Cundiff to the plate. In a little more than an hour, John and I will be back with Illinois and Kentucky. Kentucky using 3 pitchers last night to shut out that dangerous hitting Indiana team.
Looks like when you start looking over these teams, you mentioned that win for Kentucky last night. What a battle that was. That Kentucky team looks pretty good. They've got some guys on the mound that can get it done, and they've got a good defense behind you, a lot like this Ohio team.
Wisniewski sends this one in foul territory and out of play. I think as good as the pitching was last night, John, for Kentucky, I was even more impressed with its defense.
Yep. Those were 2 aces on the mound they had going last night, and it showed. Tough loss for Indiana. They did everything they needed to do to win it. They just not able to get to the victory.
This one hit toward center field. Mokes with a catch, runner tags into third base. And now they're going to, I would assume, protest the fact that he left the base too early. And the protest is denied. Well, that's all Joey Randazzo would need at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So he's at third base with 1 out. He's an aggressive base runner. I mean, he's down 8. He doesn't care.
No, he's going to go after it. Not necessarily what you have to do, but he was going to be aggressive. How about the play out in center field, the diving catch?
He'll tell you officially.
Yeah, it's terrific by Mokes. Yeah, fans hollering toward Mokes in the center field. They'll allow, in the meantime, with the substitution, Lake Cundiff to get in a few more tosses. And we should be set. When the home plate umpire is ready to go, everybody else is ready. Ohio 10-9-3, Michigan 2 runs, 3 hits, 1 error. Apparently there was a challenge on the play as to whether that was a hit or not, but it was not reviewable. At the plate is Jack Jones, the identical twin of Ryan Jones. He talked to the coaching staff and she said, all right, how do you tell them apart? And in unison,
Yep.
all 3 coaches, in this case, Jason Hill, Andy Aralt, and Mark Arsenault, said, you can't.
Be interesting if they run up against Kentucky. Another set of identical twins on Kentucky's team. One of them a catcher as well.
Yep. This is game 3 of the Great Lakes region, so Michigan, by way of the defeat this afternoon, will move into the 7 o'clock game tomorrow night. And we'll face Indiana. Popped up on the infield. Overthrow. Randazzo will think better this time and hold up. Braden Moore had to battle the sun on that. Was successful in doing so. Now there are 2 outs, and everybody on the Ohio side is standing, recognizing that this will be very possibly the final out of the game. So Michigan will face Indiana tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, in an elimination game. And Ohio will be looking at either Kentucky or Illinois on Wednesday. And that game is scheduled for 2 o'clock. On what will be getaway day for us.
That's right.
As Clay Matvick and Chris Burke will take over the controls as announcers for ESPN and ESPN2 rest of the way.
It'll be a pretty good matchup to send us out on.
I would say so. Ohio strike away from being 2-0 in the Great Lakes. (22-4) winners yesterday and 10-2 today. It's a juggernaut here.
It certainly is. Well, this Ohio team, pitching, hitting, defense, they've got all the tools right now. Michigan going to have to regroup. They have an opportunity to come back, and I'll tell you, this Ohio team looks pretty good as far as putting runs on the board. A good staff, good experience. So interested to see how they move along now with a little bit of a break.
And yes, John, averaging more than 3 runs per inning. That's how impressive it's been. So Hamilton, Ohio moves on in the winner's bracket, and Michigan will play in the loser's bracket tomorrow night. Ohio next to play on Wednesday. We'll take a break, come back in about an hour. Have for you Illinois and Kentucky in the Great Lakes winner's bracket. For John Gregory, Jim Barber, thank you for joining us. See you at 1 o'clock Eastern.